Ultimately, I moved my family back home, which is here in Jacksonville, into my old house, putting my children in my old bedroom. It was a serious coming back home experience.
Okay.
And I had a very intense caretaking experience for quite a while. She had issues of blood pressure that meant if she stood up that she would lose consciousness and fall. So I had to kind of first of all, try to make her sit still. And then when she didn't, walk behind her and catch her.
You had to be there to catch her.
Yes.
So at the same time as raising your own children,
yes,
you were a mother as well as a caregiver for your mother.
Yes.
That had to be challenging.
It was. Yeah. But I tell you what, it was the single most experience that has let me know that I can do these things.
Yeah.
And that not having certainty about exactly what is going to happen next doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah. It's through trial and tribulation that we learn who we are.
That's right.
Who we are and what we can do. And what we can do. Well, you have shared with us the most wonderful story of being able to, even though you had some disadvantages starting out, you were able to turn those disadvantages to your favor and end up doing things that you love.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Vosmik, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
We
know that there is someone out there that's watching your story that is going to be helped by it.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from life coach LaRonda Howard with some additional resources. We are back with certified life coach LaRonda Howard. LaRonda, welcome back to our show.
Thank you for having me.
LaRonda, after listening to Dr. Vosmik's story, and she was an amazing story.
Yes,
she has
very amazing.
Been able to accomplish a great number of things. Having heard her talk about experiencing that silence as a child, really through her formative years, what resources could you suggest or offer to someone that may have experienced that themselves or that may have a child at home that is not speaking? What would you suggest to someone?
I enjoy hearing her story, and just, what kept going through my head was like support groups. She kept talking about the theater, which was like a safe haven. So just finding those ways to put your child in a surrounding that is inviting of people of whatever may be going on in their life, that's accepting of who they are and what they're going through. Perhaps a psychologist, counselors, those individuals that could truly help her overcome what she, of course, did.
She was able to overcome.
And had supportive parents, I believe, in the end, that helped her go beyond any other person outside of the home, is having supportive parents that understand where their child was and not trying to force them to be somebody that they're not ready to be.
And that's important what you said, because during her story, I thought about, as a mother, you want the best for your children, and you expect them to have a certain life and to live it out a certain way. And when it doesn't play out that way, how do you, as a parent, at that time, you have to make a decision.
That's right.
How are you going to best be able to deal with that child and nurture and give them love and support and help them to develop into what they need to become, what they want to become.
Definitely.
So in her story, you could tell that her parents were very supportive of her, even though at times I'm sure it was a struggle. It was challenging, because we want the best for our children.
And when they're not, like you said, quote unquote, normal to what people would think, that's when, it really does depend on that parent to safeguard their child, say, okay, this child is different from the next. It's like, if you have multiple children, each child is different. So her learning curve was different, but this being respectful and being flexible and adapting to where she was until she was ready to, continue to on her journey.
The other piece to that was that she had teachers that were willing to work with her. And kids come all different. They're all different.
Exactly.
And for those that are in the education field, you have to recognize that there are no cookie cutter children.
That's it.
And that we have to meet them where they are.
Where they are.
Meet them where they are, and really try to work with them.
Yes.
In order that we don't cause further damage.
Exactly.
Sometimes, I can say that because I have a son that was a very different child. He was determined to do his own thing, his own way. And so you don't want to get caught into trying to put a round peg into a square hole, or,
put them in a box.
Put them in a box and try to treat them all the same. You have to be willing to deal with that child exactly where they are.
Exactly.
And my prayer for my son was, God, I know that Samuel is precious in your sight. Show me how to nurture that preciousness. So as a parent, I could kind of understand some of the challenges that her parents may have gone through with really just wanting the best for her.
Of course.
But she was able to find the thing. Able to find the thing. And that's why we should keep looking.
Exactly.
Keep seeking. And really not give up hope.
Exactly.
And
I feel like she found her purpose. Like the theater was, whether she realized at that moment, of course, but of course, look at the journey that she's had since then. Being the dean of an art school, like helping others, like it always ends up being a part of your purpose, whether you realize it or not.
Yes.
And just helping paying it forward. Her story is going to help, as you mentioned, so many individuals.
And I like the idea that her creativity was really developed because she became a voracious reader during that time. So even in that silence, she was still able to grow and to develop and learn. And learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good.
So it's just proof positive that where there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way.
Coach Howard, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our guests. I'll be back in just a moment with some final thoughts. In listening to Jordan's story, it was a blessing to me that the way we start out our lives doesn't necessarily have to dictate the way our lives end or the way we end up. As parents, we want the very best for our children. We have a responsibility to love, nurture, and care for them in whatever state they're in. Jordan had parents that were able to help her to find the thing that she wanted, the thing that she needed to do in order to get to that place of creativity. Because she was nurtured, because she had her family support, she was able to find the thing that made her heart sing. Thank you for watching our show.